Hello and welcome to another episode of The Download. Today we have the CEO of the St. Louis Realtors Association, Dan Sale, with us. Hi, Dan, and thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, Tabitha. It's my pleasure. Thank you for the invitation to be here today.
Oh, it's our pleasure. So can you tell us a little bit about the St. Louis Realtors Association?
Absolutely. The St. Louis Realtors is a 501c6 nonprofit organization. We're the largest local realtor association in Missouri, and we provide services to approximately 8,000 realtors in St. Louis City and St. Louis County. And those services range anywhere from standard forms and contracts that consumers might need in a transaction, to educational offerings, to enforcement of the code of ethics, handling of business disputes, government advocacy, and the list goes on. So that's in a nutshell. We're a locally focused organization, but we also have organizations at the state and national level that we're affiliated with.
So you're not busy at all, is what we're hearing.
Not at all.
So since you're out in the community so much, can you share what you've been seeing?
Certainly. Well, first, what I'd like to do is just also mention that, as someone whose livelihood is tied to the real estate industry, I think it's appropriate at this time to acknowledge that I think we've all discovered just what our homes mean to us. The comfort of a sanctuary, a home, this has been brought to the forefront, and now more than ever, we understand and appreciate the sanctity of having a home that we can all love and cherish. When I think of sheltering in place, the first thing you think of is home, right? And so this experience has certainly led me to appreciate my home, and I hope it's led others to feel the same.
I can agree with that, especially when that is your sanctuary. So many people are doing home renovations now, or they're just taking time to do all the little projects that seem to be swept under the rug because the day-to-day gets so busy.
Absolutely. Everyone's catching up on their home improvement projects, and it's a good thing. Always a good thing. Always want to improve where you live. It's like, absolutely,
because you can't go anywhere. So tell us, being in the real estate world, what do you foresee is going to happen? Maybe not now or 6 months from now, but are there any trends or insights that you're noticing at this time that's going to impact the future?
The real estate industry before the pandemic arrived was hitting on all cylinders. It was extremely robust, to say the least. When the pandemic hit, we experienced a sharp decline in listing inventory, a related decline in home sales, a major decline in pending sales, changing consumer preferences, and a change in the way that our members do business. They're doing business much differently now than they did 6 weeks ago. I'm amazed and impressed at the same time at how our members have adapted to the new way of order. They're doing much more virtually than they ever have. Open houses done virtually, showing buyer clients through homes via Facetime and other means of technology. But the reality of it is the business continues and the business still needs to get done. And it is to a large extent. You know, we just pulled home sales for April in the St. Louis City and County, and they were down considerably, 18.2%. And I mentioned how pendings and listings were down as well. But it's not all bad news. Home sale prices are holding up quite well. We saw a 16.7% increase in home sale prices in April.
Wow.
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, this is a function of supply and demand. The lower supply is having a definite impact on prices, as well as time on market, which is accelerated. Even though there are fewer homes selling, there are fewer homes listed, it tends to push the prices up, or at least maintain prices, and the time on market has reduced. So, you know, as I said, all is not bad. And I think it's important to get some perspective here when we think about the real estate market. And one comparison that I like to use is, you know, the situation we faced back during Hurricane Katrina. And it seems like forever ago now, but the unemployment rate in New Orleans increased sharply after that. It went from 5 to 15% almost overnight. But that declined rapidly in a 3 to 4 month period, due in large part to massive relief efforts. There was never during that whole period of time a home price decline in the city of New Orleans. There was a lack of supply though. And likewise, we've had a shortage of homes here before the pandemic, and even fewer now. So, you know, for sellers, homeowners that might be worried about their investment, they can, you know, rest easy that, you know, their homes are going to hold value. And another good comparison that we like to hold up is 9/11. It's probably an even better comparison because that was driven by fear. There was a rise in unemployment in New York City and nationwide after 9/11. And that was accompanied by low mortgage rates. Home sales actually increased the following year in New York City. And during that whole time period, home prices never declined. So, you know, we view that as a very positive. We do anticipate some sales decline because the spring buying season has been heavily impacted. There will be major disruption in the second quarter. Many predict gradual growth, however, throughout the remainder of 2020. That said, we won't be able to fully recover from the loss of the spring buying season. And our industry forecasters suggest that we'll be down by 10 to 15% come year end. But we anticipate a very strong market coming into 2021. And we believe realtors will play a pivotal role in helping to restore the economy. And expert insights are painting a bright future for housing when the economy bounces back, and it will. We may be facing challenging times today, but the housing market is poised to help the economy recover, not drag it down.
Can you elaborate a little bit on what you mean about how it's poised to help us recover?
Yes. Well, prior to the pandemic, there was low supply and pent-up buyer demand. That buyer demand hasn't gone away. It's just been suppressed artificially. And so when the market fully opens back up, we believe that a lot of that pent up buyer demand will be there, and it will, on average, real estate is a major portion of the GDP of the economy. So, when those buyers come out and purchase homes, that will have an impact on the GDP, obviously.
So keep doing your home improvement projects, because your home's going to retain its value, and if you want to sell, put you in a pretty good position.
Absolutely.
So Dan, what's one thing that our listeners can do right now to do better, do good? What's the call to action?
Well, I've given this some thought, and I would have to say, if I could urge St. Louis residents to do one thing, that would be to respond to your census inquiry. The census has broad impacts on communities nationwide, determining political representation and allocation of resources like funding for schools, hospitals, libraries, transportation and infrastructure projects. And we have a real life example of the importance of the census right now as our country battles the virus. So we need to know how many people are living in our communities to make sure that federal funds for public health are properly allocated and our community can be ready when it really counts. So the census provides a trove of information, certainly for our industry, for the real estate industry. We rely on that data greatly to make industry projections and evaluate generational housing population demands. So if you haven't responded to your census inquiry, go out and do that today.
And we'll, once this is posted, we will definitely put all of the information about how people can do that if they haven't already at the links at the bottom of this video. Well, Dan, thank you so much for participating. You gave us a lot of great information.
It was my pleasure, and thank you for the invite.
Well, we appreciate your time, and we'll make sure to link up in all of the notes to everything that you have said, as well as if there is anybody who needs to get in contact with a member of your office, we'll make sure to put that there as well.
Great. Thank you, Tabitha.
Thanks, Dan.